Okay, we're going to talk about slope of a line now, right? And I left this one up that we just did in a couple slides ago because it asked us to graph this line, okay? So what if you had the line but didn't know this? And here's where we're going to work backwards. We know the slope is already -3. That's what we know, okay? But what if you didn't know that? What if you were given the visual picture of the graph and being asked to find the slope, being asked to find the steepness of the line? Well, here's what we can do. Let's see if my blue has recovered. We can say, hey, we know this is -2 and 10. We know this is 0 and 4. And we know this is 2 and -2. Okay? So we don't know what the slope is. I mean, we do because we're using the same question. But if we just knew that and didn't know what the slope was, here's how we find slope. Slope is a ratio of steepness. And the ratio is how much the graph rises between 2 points, between any 2 points, versus how much the graph runs between any 2 points. Okay? So we have 3 points. We're going to pick 2 of them, any 2 of them, because it always goes at the same steepness, right? So I'm going to pick, just because they're up here, I'm going to pick this one, and I'm going to pick this one, right? And what you see on your thing is m, and I don't know why they like to use m, but in the y equals mx plus b, m always represents slope. So what you have seen here is this little formula. I see it right on the thing. So the rise is the difference between the 2 y values, and the run is the difference between the 2 x values. So basically, how much does it go up and down between these 2 points, over how much does it go left and right between these 2 points, right? So we're going to see how much does it go vertically instead of up and down. We'll call it vertically first. So y2, I don't know, let's call this point number 1 and point number 2. Again, if you call this point number 1 and this point number 2, it still works, right? So the y in point number 2 is 4. So let's get out our black here. So I'm going to put a 4 in and a minus. And the y value in point number 1 is 10. So 4 minus 10. Okay. The x value in point number 2, x value, remember it's always xy, x value is 0, minus the x value in point number 1, x value in point number 1 is -2. Be careful, you're subtracting, and the x value itself is -2, so you have a minus -2 there. Okay? And then we just do this here. 4 minus 10 is -6. And 0 minus -2 minus negative, we could replace that with just a big old plus sign, right? 2 negatives. 0 minus -2 is 2. And then we end up with -3. The slope could have been a fraction, and that's totally okay. But we end up with -3. And we say, therefore, the slope is -3. Now that should be no surprise at all, because when we started this video, we knew it was y equals -3x plus 4. We knew -3 was the answer for the slope. But if you don't know it, that's how you end up getting it. Okay? I'd like to do one thing. You can stop the video now if you want, but I'd like to prove to you that it doesn't matter what points I use. Okay? I'm going to use 2 different points. I'm going to use this one. And I'm going to call it point number 2. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to call it point number 1. We're not going to use this one at all. So if you're interested in seeing how this works, let's do this. Okay. So if I call that point number 2, then y in point number 2 is -2 minus y in point number 1, which is 4. X in point number 2 is 2 minus x in point number 1, which is 0. We got -6 over 2. -6 divided by 2 is still -3. use two different points, exact same answer, because you can use any points in any order and still make this work.